John, one of the controversial acts, or maybe it's not that controversial, that you were engaged in was opposing the federal health care legislation. Let's start off with that. Tell me two things. One is exactly what did you do? What was your involvement? And tell me why.
Thank you, Aaron. Ladies and gentlemen, there's two givens we need to start with. Health insurance is good, and for this health care reform to work, where we're covering pre-existing conditions, we have to have a lot of people in the pool. If you can walk in, if you can get cancer today, walk in and get coverage without any penalty for your pre-existing condition, you got to have a lot of healthy 22-year-olds in the pool. The federal government has traditionally coerced people to do things by two constitutionally proven methods. First of all, they give you economic incentives to do it. If you buy a home, we'll give you a mortgage deduction. Up until April 30th, if you bought a home, you got a tax credit. The other thing they've done is incentivize the states to force citizens to do something. So if Colorado, if you want highway funds, you have to pass a law requiring seatbelts or helmets. The federal government this time passed up those two constitutionally proven methods, and instead Congress directly ordered each of our viewers out there to buy health insurance, buy a product or service Congress wanted them to buy, or they're going to be fined 2% of their adjusted gross income. A lot of people, including Stan, says, hey, no problem, that's what the federal government can do. Let me tell you what the Congressional Budget Office told Congress when they first proposed this method. A mandate requiring all individuals to purchase health insurance is an unprecedented form of federal action. The federal government has never before required people to buy any good or service as a condition of lawful residence in the United States. Folks, we have a system of federalism. That means the federal government exercises the enumerated powers given it in the federal Constitution. By the express terms of the Constitution, all other powers not given to the federal government are reserved to the states and the people. Won't surprise you to know there's no health care power. There is a commerce power. Congress may regulate commerce among the several states. Heretofore, Congress has always used that commerce power to regulate economic activity, your participation in the marketplace. This is the first time in our history that Congress is sanctioning you, punishing you by 2% of your adjusted gross income for not engaging in economic activity. If this expansion of the commerce power or the taxing power, and I'll tell you if I need to why it's not a proper exercise of the taxing power, is sanctioned, then think about it. There is no limit to federal control over your individual economic decision-making. Congress can say, you buy this fuel-efficient car, or we're going to fine you. You buy a membership in a health club, or we're going to fine you, as opposed to giving you a tax incentive. It's an unprecedented form of federal action. That's what caused me to join an action just specifically against that. And as the Washington Post explained in their editorial, this doesn't sink the whole bill. It would make them go back to the drawing board and come up with a constitutional method of securing widespread health insurance that doesn't jeopardize federalism and our individual economic decision-making for generations to come.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, John. Stan, what's your take on both the issue and also the appropriateness of Colorado's involvement in this issue?
Well, Aaron, I'm glad you asked that question. I see it a bit differently than John Suthers does. First of all, the arguments that John has just laid out contain a lot, just like often happens with these kind of arguments, a lot of fear-mongering, a lot of slippery slope arguments, and stray away from what the real issue is in this litigation, in this legislation. You know, John Suthers and in 11 other Republican attorney generals, with the exception of Louisiana, who was ordered to do it by his Republican governor, filed this lawsuit right around the same day that President Obama signed the bill into law. And I was shocked by that. I thought it was inappropriate, and I thought it was a waste of the prestige and the authority of the Colorado Attorney General on what was a very minor point. The issue here is simply, in the year 2014, what this lawsuit has been filed on doesn't even go into effect until 2014, and at that point, it simply creates an excise tax of $95 for anybody who has not purchased health insurance. Now, as I've pointed out, and People are often telling me to quit talking about the 1800s. The issue, but I'm going to do it for a second, it's just fair warning. The issues that are raised by this are issues that we have wrestled with in American history from the very beginning. And let me tell you this, every step forward in American history, getting rid of slavery, industrializing, nationalizing the economy, dealing with Social Security, dealing with the New Deal, dealing with civil rights, creating Medicaid, everything has always been opposed in the first instance on states' rights grounds. Exactly the same issue that's being raised here. This has been litigated over and over in the United States Supreme Court. The Commerce Clause, which has been upheld as recently as 3 years ago, clearly permits the court to, or the Congress and the President to establish this very minor excise tax. There is no reason to have filed this case. There's certainly no reason to have filed it in Florida. And as I've pointed out, I've litigated a number of cases in Florida, and going to Florida federal court to litigate a case is a major project. It requires significant effort. And in this case, the work isn't being done by the Colorado Attorney General's office. It's being done by a group of Republican lawyers back east. It's a waste of the prestige of the office. It's consistent with a pattern that John Suthers has engaged in of being partisan on this kind of litigation. It's wrong. And one of the first things I will do when I'm elected Attorney General is dismiss Colorado from this case if it hasn't already been thrown out of court at that point.